Hello everyone, welcome back. We've got another gym session today. I hope that I can get through and survive. I am so tired at the moment. If you guys have been following along my journey, I'm like week 14 into contest prep. I got no energy. I just want to sleep. My brain's not really working. I'm lucky to just physically be here today. But we do have an awesome workout plan. And this is a new workout coming from my brand new Miss Bikini Olympia Part 3 program, which is now live on our new app BiaFit. So we're going to be working through a full body program today, starting with the most important muscle group, which is my glutes. And then we're going to work through hamstrings, quads, calves, shoulders, chest, bit of back, maybe some triceps. And the only muscle group that I really DGA about is going to be biceps. So no bicep training in this particular program series. That's part 1 all the way through to part 3. I don't need bigger biceps to be a bikini competitor. So I'm going to go through and show you some new techniques today, maybe some movements that I haven't had in a little while, and also some different training techniques that you might have included or may not have included in your own workouts before. We've got some cluster sets, we've got some tempo training, and a host of other cool things, so stick around. I'm about to die. So I am feeling a little bit sore at the moment. I think part of that is just due to being under-recovered, underslept, undernourished, overtrained, all the good things. So I am doing a little bit of warm-up and some mobility just to get my hips feeling better. I've had some left hip pain problems over the last, well, I'm going to be real, about 18 months, and I know it's from excessive sitting. So I used to do a lot more work for my stand-up desk, and then this year I found that a lot more of the tasks that I'm doing, there's a lot of heavy writing, and I actually don't write very well when I'm standing. So way more time sitting in an office chair, and honestly I feel like this might be what it feels like to be 70. So I've actually just started getting some physical therapy for my hip. And I have been given some prescription of, Holly, you need to get up and move around like every hour, even if it's just for 2 minutes, just to kind of get me out of that position that's causing some pain. So yeah, I guess maybe I can take you to my next physical therapy appointment and go through all of the things that we are doing to kind of get me feeling a little bit better. So a couple of my favorites, which is good for your lower body and your back. So we've got the world's greatest stretch, which is a great spinal rotation exercise. I can also feel this in my hip here a little bit, which is kind of bothersome, but not bad enough for me to stop training today, that's for sure. All right, so we're going to start with the pendulum. All right, so pendulum. This is honestly like a new favorite of mine. I have always, for the life of me, done like regular barbell squats. I still enjoy them. However, I have programmed them a lot less, I guess, over the last couple of years. And part of the reason for that is I used to do powerlifting. So I did a couple of competitions, and I really enjoyed the performance aspect of lifting heavy. You know, doing a 1 rep max was a lot of fun. But I also found that I was just getting really beat up, and I don't really enjoy being sore. I don't think any of us do. We want to be able to move, fluidly throughout the day, and that wasn't happening. So I have kind of changed a little bit of the style of program that I write for myself, at least, to higher rep ranges, slightly lighter loads, still obviously working to or close to failure. For most of my sets, and obviously that's still a very effective way of eliciting muscle growth. You can still grow from going very heavy with lower loads, but it's maybe not as effective. And part of the reason for that is we're not really training the muscle as much as we are kind of limiting or limited by our soft tissue, our joints, tendons, ligaments. So yeah, it was just really causing a lot of problems. So I haven't programmed a proper back squat for a little while now. and I've done everything else to still target those same muscle groups. So I'm still hitting my glutes, still hitting my quads, which is what this exercise does, but it's got a really nice movement path. As you go down, I don't really feel it a whole lot in my back at all. It is just very, very comfortable. So if you've had maybe some back injuries, or maybe you are wanting to, I guess, take a break and try something new in the gym, love the pendulum squat. So I'm not doing any like fancy techniques with this particular exercise, but the coming movements, we're definitely going to mix it up. So usually when I am starting the first movement on a muscle group, I will do a couple of warm-up sets. So because this is the first movement of the whole session, I'm going to do 5 as a warm-up, then I'm going to do 3, and then I'm going to do a single, and then I'm going to start my working set. So I guess I should say 5 reps, 3 reps, 1 rep, progressively increasing my load from about 50% of my intended working weight up to 75% of my intended working weight, up to 90% of that intended working weight. So I think for this movement, like typically I'll put on a 45 and a 25 for sets of 12. So I did my first set of 5 just with the 25 on, and then I'll kind of progress up. Okay, so just on my first working set, you can see I've got 10 reps for this set, and my working load was 70. So I can also go in and adjust this. If I was finding that my RPE was a little bit low, for instance, and I misloaded the machine, you can also continue to do more reps until you get closer to failure and move that number around. But that was actually pretty good for me. So yeah, we'll leave that at that. Alrighty, so up next is a regular prone hamstring curl. I think if you've done my programs before, I have had every kind of hamstring curl, single leg, 2 leg, bilateral, unilateral. It doesn't matter, they're all in there. But for this particular program, I'm going to be doing clusters like I mentioned before. So clusters are basically one of many different training techniques that can ultimately get you to failure. Now, I like clusters just from the perspective that they are an efficient way to train. I'm all about efficiency. I don't want to be in the gym for 2 hours. So if I can get to failure faster, then I'm probably going to choose that option when I am time poor. So I guess slightly different to myo rep sets, which you've probably seen me program in other, workouts. Clusters are an initial set of about 12 to 15 reps, and then we're going to rest for 30 seconds, and then we're going to perform another set and trying to stay in the hypertrophy rep range, so somewhere between 8 and 12. So for this particular exercise, I'm going to do a set of 15, I'm going to rest for 30 seconds, follow it up with 12, 12, 12. So I'm going to do 4 sets in total. So slightly different to myo rep sets where the rest time is even shorter. So you might bring that down to say 15 seconds rest between your sets, and then you're only working through maybe the 6 to 8 rep range. So it's a slightly lower rep range. You'll get through it a little bit faster, a little bit more geared more towards strength training. So yeah, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to get through this much faster. Maybe not because I'm talking to you guys, but an effective way, one of many, not superior than doing regular prone curls. I just want to make that really clear. There's a lot of talk about all these different fancy techniques online, and right now there is no evidence to suggest that they are superior than any alternative. I might be proven wrong in research to come, but right now, as it stands, I don't think there's any really good solid evidence that would be indicative that this is a better way to train. So one thing that I did do in that set is lighten the load. So for my last set, I went from 90 down to 70. So 20-pound drop. Now, I think a lot of folks, I guess, that have kind of gotten behind training volume, and I mean, I was a big proponent of volume is everything at one point until I probably started reading a little bit more. It doesn't necessarily compromise the outcome by taking that load down. I think what probably matters more is going to failure. So if you have to, adjust your weight, get a lighter dumbbell in order to finish your set, depending on what exercise you're doing, it might be a loaded machine like this, could be free dumbbells. You shouldn't really worry about that implicating in a negative way your training volume. I think what matters much more, like I said, is that proximity to failure. You're trying to get your muscle to fatigue and still paying attention to your weekly set number. So this set that I've just done is technically 4 sets. That's counting towards 4 sets of my hamstrings. So at the moment, in terms of my hamstring priority, I'm probably doing about 15 working sets per week. This just made up 4 of them. Just because they were at a slightly lighter load on that final set, it's not compromising my outcomes based on my understanding. Okay, so one of the other things that you can do, and I think this is super helpful if you are doing cluster sets, is to use the rest timer. So instead of having to look down at your phone and switch out apps or look at your watch, you can actually start this rest timer like in the app. So you can see here it kind of counts down, and you can just sit that in front of you while you're doing the set. And there's also a full workout timer on the main page too. So if I go back here, you can see here if you are somebody that's kind of recording your training duration for a coach or just because you enjoy data, you can hit start and it will automatically start keeping track of the time for that workout. Okay, so I just have to race back over here to get the hip thrust. This is a hot commodity. So I've actually done the, exercises a little bit out of order. I had wanted to start with this movement, but it's been taken for the entire time. So I guess the downside to me switching exercise order in this particular instance, maybe I should start with a caveat. Usually you'll hear me say exercise order doesn't really matter in terms of hypertrophy outcomes. Whether you do, one exercise before another, it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of difference. Where it will make a lot of difference is strength-based training. So if you are specifically working on, a strength for a squat or a deadlift, you do want to do those first. The exercise order does matter because you want to come in feeling fresh and, performing your best. The downside of me doing, the hip thrust third, when glutes are my muscle group that I want to focus on the most, I'm now coming into this movement where my hamstrings are absolutely gassed, and they're probably going to be a limiting factor in, my performance over here. So what I expect is going to happen, I haven't done a set yet, but we'll soon see. I don't want to bias myself, but I'm probably going to start to feel a bit of lactic acid in my hamstrings. And it's very possible that lactic acid buildup that I can feel in my hamstrings are going to cause me to stop, but my glutes are not at failure yet. So it's a problem, which is why if you've got a muscle group that you care about, do it first while it's fresh without any other interference, because right now I don't know whether this exercise is going to get done without me having some other limiting factors. So we'll see how we go. But anyway, rep ranges, let's talk about that. I've got only 3 sets for week 1, and I've got a couple of different rep ranges. For the last, 6 months, I have trained pretty specifically at higher rep ranges for hip thrust, so like 20s and 15s. But for this program, just to mix it up, not because there's anything magical about changing the numbers around, I wanted to do some sets of 8. So you'll see I've got 2 sets of 8, and then in my third set, I go back up, and I go up to 15 just to finish it off. So I haven't hit at 8 for months, so I have no idea what I'm going to lift. I'm going to start with 270, 6 plates total. We'll see how we go. So, God, I need to go to sleep. This weight wasn't too bad, actually. I was kind of surprised. I could definitely still feel like my hamstrings are working probably a little bit more than my glutes right now, which is annoying. But I know my glutes are stronger. So I've taken it up by 20 pounds. So I'm going to go to 290. I guess this will be my last set of 8, and then I'm going to go up to a set of 12. I've been walking around for the last couple of weeks wondering why on earth my bag is so heavy. And this is kind of surprising to me because I recently went through my bags, like got rid of all of the equipment and things that I knew I wouldn't need for, various programs. I now know why. Let me just take you through my little cooler selection here of beverages. Got my Fresca, got my Zero, got my water. There's more, I'm sure of it. Got another one. Dare I keep going? Look, do we just crawl inside? Okay, so there's 4, but still. Now it makes sense. All right, so I had a different exercise on the program, at least for what I'm doing, but I wanted to show you something different, but also talk about some different techniques. So the original exercise was a forward-leaning machine glute abduction, but with tempo. So I guess there are 4 distinct components of a movement. You usually see this illustrated with 4 digits, 4 numbers. So in this particular exercise, if you look at my program, it'll show you 3, 2, 1, 1. So the first digit is representative of the eccentric phase. So that's when the muscle is lengthening. So you'll see when I come in on like a glute abduction, it's a 3-second tempo, so really slow. And then you notice the second digit is like the pause between the rep. So I had a 2, but I guess the little difference here with that exercise is that I'm not coming to a complete rest where I'm letting the tension go. I keep the tension on my glutes. So I don't quite let my legs come in all the way together so that there's no load. And then it's a fast, explosive, concentric phase. So it's a 1. And then the very last digit is also a 1, which means 1 second rest between the concentric and the eccentric. So it sounds really convoluted, but it's actually pretty simple. It's basically like the out and the in. And you can modify those tempos. And again, nothing magical about tempo training. It is one of many ways that we can train and get your muscle to failure through, I guess, holding that load and slowing things down. And that is obviously much harder on the tissue and that can get you to failure. But I'm going to show you the band today. So I've got my large resistance band or glute bands. If you are in need of a new set of bands, I will highly recommend getting yourself some. I hadn't had a new band. Like I've got a whole box at home, haven't bothered to get a new one out, probably in like a year and a half, just being honest. And I was like, it's about time. Mine were getting a little bit skanky, a little bit dirty. There's rubber bands popping out everywhere. And I use those things real good. So I'm surprised they survived that long. When I got this new band out just earlier this week, I was so surprised at how much more tension those brand new bands have. So with that being said, let me do the mistakes and I'll pass on the tips to you. So don't let your bands expire by like more than 6 months if you use them on a regular basis. Keep them fresh, otherwise you're going to find that you haven't really got a whole lot of resistance anymore. And that probably means that you have to do a lot more reps. That's the reality. So I was doing like 45 reps, 50 reps thinking, geez, I've got really strong. This is awesome. When the reality was the band was just getting sloppier. So I'm going to do monster walks today, 20 paces up, 20 paces back. It's going to really hurt my glute meads and you're going to hear probably a lot of grimacing. All right, so for this exercise, I want you to make sure that you put the bands down low around your ankles. And then you're going to get into a nice athletic stance. You're going to see me kind of keeping a pretty good distance between my feet. I'm not letting my feet come together really close. I'm keeping constant tension on that band by keeping my feet wider than shoulder width the entire time. Now, as I get to the end, I might start to fatigue a little bit and you might see that my stance or stride is getting a little narrower, but that's okay. I'm getting close to failure. So that is, again, the principle here, proximity to failure. All right, now here's my second pro tip. If you are a wakeboarder, this is really good to practice your flips. Yo, I haven't wakeboarded in such a long time. I don't know anybody here in the US that does it, and I also don't have time, but if anyone wakeboards, y'all, hit me up. All right, up next, good old leg extensions, just when I thought I could catch a break. And then I saw the dreaded cluster. So we've got another cluster set. You can see the recovery time's only 30 seconds between every set. Again, you can see me start at 15, then I drop down to 12, 12, 12. And if you're really crazy, you can add a set and you can decide whether it's a drop set or a working set. But it does look a little bit different, and that will just help you distinguish when you come back to your future programs what you actually did. So you can see it kind of reads a little bit differently as well. So it doesn't identify as a normal set, but it will track that volume. I can't tell you the number of people that do a lot of drop set training and they don't record their volume. So something to think about, very important, because you're potentially doing way more working sets effectively. So we've got that little feature in there. For those of you that love data, I do too. This exercise always requires a hair tightening. So tighten your hair because you're going to be here for a minute. So I've got my trusty yoga mat. I do need to get a new one. This serves as twofold. I guess a lot of the times if you're in a gym where they're not really keeping up with their machine maintenance, they have like scratchy, ripped holes and it can be a little uncomfortable. So if you place this over your material, it's a lot more comfy. But in this particular machine, which is actually upholstered quite nicely, I'm going to pop it down as I slap myself in the face. I'm going to pop it down just here, and it's giving me just a little bit more width. And again, that is important because this machine does not take my legs far enough underneath to kind of get me in that like lengthened position. And again, I'm all for optimizing my efficiency in the gym. And I would like to ideally train at least full range of motion or allow myself to get to a lengthened range of motion. And this machine kind of stops me a little bit short. And I've also, you guys know, I have really flexible everything. So I want that bar, this pad here, far under my legs to stretch my hamstrings. I mean, clearly I'm dieting to stretch my quads. So I'm just going to start. Wish me luck. Seconds rest only. I also went to 20 reps just then. I misloaded. So I just kept going until I got pretty close to failure. Two, one. All right, guys, I've got no idea what I've got next. Hopefully upper body. Can you guess what I have next? A cluster set. Oh my God, I hate myself sometimes. Honestly, I think this next exercise is still by far like one of my favorites. I don't know that there's a shoulder movement. No, there's not, that I like more. Maybe you guys disagree. What's your favorite shoulder movement? If there's one that I'm missing out on, please let me know. But again, I could have done tempo for this. And I think in previous programs, I've had like the slow 3, 2, 1 eccentric type movement. So you may even see this programmed in other sessions. But today is all about the clusters. So I'm just going to get started. So starting off with a set of 15, 30 seconds rest, and then we'll go again. So warm and so inflamed. I actually have a really good video, I guess, coming out maybe next week or the week after that talks about all the potential influences that will affect your body weight on the scale that have nothing to do with fat gain, fat loss. So stay tuned for that. All right, so a few ways you can do this next exercise. We've got a single arm front raise as I pull that weight. Okay, no way I'm lifting that. Anyhow, so a couple of different handle attachments. You could use a handle like this. I'm actually going to keep it kind of facing neutral and bringing it up in front of me like this. You can also, if you don't want to use a handle, I think some people also just enjoy holding the carabiner or like the circular knob, I guess, that ends on most of the cables. This one's kind of it's not really circular, so I don't know if that feels quite as comfortable. But if you've got one of those types of cables, go right ahead. And another way that I also like, and I have the attachments in my bag, I should show you, but I'm also dieting and that's a lot of effort. But you wrap I guess similar to like the foot attachment where you do like cable kickbacks. I've got one for my wrists. So if you've got like a wrist injury or something going on with your hands, I know I have some clients that have rheumatoid arthritis, so their grip isn't their strong point. You can also attach that, I guess it's not really a brace, it's a cable attachment around the wrist, and you can use this part of your forearm to kind of come through instead. So even if you don't have the capacity of a regular person with your hands, there's always a way. So if you know somebody that's making excuses like, oh, I can't, my grip strength sucks, you've got a response now. So let's do this. I've got it on the lightest setting, and I think it's 12 reps. So a staggered stance for this, opposite leg to arm. This hand here just for a bit of support again. Nice athletic stance. I am bracing my core here, like, and it stays on the whole time. So one thing I just noticed there is, what is it? It's just always hair. One thing I noticed is that weight is probably a little bit too light for the 12 reps that's prescribed. So rather than ending the set and then adjusting afterwards, I don't want to waste that set by only going to like an RPE of 5. So just keep doing more reps until you get to failure. And then that is a good working set. So I've definitely seen people load up the bar. They do exactly what's prescribed in their program, yet it was way too easy. And then they've basically wasted a set if they don't come back and do another set to kind of catch up, if that makes sense. So for my next set, I might take this up, but it's also a big jump up to the next weight bracket. So I might just have to do more reps, we'll see. So the last exercise on the program is meant to be a bench supported low to high chest fly. I cannot see a bench that is at least in rolling distance to bring over to these cables. So if you're in a similar boat and you don't have access to a bench, you can also do this as the vertical plane. There are some subtle differences between the two. When you stand in this vertical position, you're going to get a little bit more deltoid, recruitment and upper chest. Whereas when you're on the horizontal plane, you're going to use a little bit more of your lower pecs and less shoulder. So again, they're both really effective movements that can target your chest muscles. I would recommend doing both as they have some slight differences there. I also find when I'm doing the vertical position, because there's a little bit more work that's required from your core to stabilize, so you might not be as strong. So I'm going to load up with the assumption that I can lift the same as what I do laying flat down, but who knows, I might be proven wrong. Alrighty guys, I am finally done, and truth be told, I have hardly eaten anything today. The only food that I have had was one of those Quest protein shakes, salted caramel, my favorite, and it was literally blended up in a coffee. So we have been go this morning, but I am definitely ready for some food. But I hope that you've enjoyed today's program. I hope that you learned something. And if there are questions that you have about your own training, please do not hesitate to drop me a comment. And last but certainly not least, BiaFit. If you are looking for a new training application, one that is going to take you from A to Z as fast as possible, that's realistic, that it's flexible, interchangeable, go and check out BiaFit. It's our new app. I'm going to pop the links in the description. And I think that's probably about all, guys. Thank you so much for watching.